Welcome to The Daily Pause with your host, Brandon Johnson.
Hey, everybody. I'm just going to go live here for a few seconds. I am going to try to do more of these. I'm actually in the process of writing a book. And so I think it might be really helpful if I took some time to, while I'm writing my book, to actually just talk about some of the things I'm learning. I'm going to be trying to do these about 2 or 3 times a week. And I really want to actually just do like a post, almost like a quote from like a revolutionary pastor. Some of you know I'm getting ready to go to a conference in Virginia with a couple hundred pastors all around the nation. A lot of these pastors, it's called Liberty pastors. A lot of them are experts in the Black Robe Regiment, which was the cuss word that that the British used to refer to the pastors of America, the colonial pastors. They hated them. They knew that they wear black robes, and they really, when they put the black robes on over their whatever they're wearing that day before they got up to the pulpit to preach. And so the British considered the pastors actually responsible for the revolution, and that's pretty true. They were responsible for the revolution. In fact, the second president of the United States, John Adams, actually said that the pulpits had thundered. And what he meant by that was that the pulpits were thundering with sermons about the revolutionary, the revolution. They all of the things that were being spoken about are written down in our Constitution, Declaration of Independence. All of our documents all started with the pastors. In fact, some say that the Constitution would have never been written and the revolution would have never happened if it wasn't for the pastors of that day doing what they did to speak out. And so I just want to talk a little bit about that kind of title of this Bear Pause, The Pulpits Have Thundered, a real short message here. Like I said, the pastors of liberty, these guys who are preaching revolution, the British blamed them for it, and modern historians also blamed them for it because they were the ones that the rabble rousers were riling up the people with the proclamation of Jesus Christ and the liberty that comes through him, as well as the liberty that comes through the things we create. Those of us who've been transformed internally will create things externally that reflect God's love and who God is, and reflect freedom, because the Bible says that, it's for freedom's sake that Christ has set you free. You've been set free for a reason, and to be free. So that is the major focus of the revolution, and it was interesting because it says here in some of the one documentation says in 1833, the American Quarterly, that as a body of men, the clergy were the preeminent in their attachment to liberty. They were like the forefront of the attachment to liberty, the clergy, the pastors. The pulpits of the land rang with the notes of freedom. And another writing says that if Christian ministers had not preached and prayed, there might have never been a revolution, or would have been, when it broke out, it would have been instantly crushed, because the Christian ministers actually set up the moral framework for freedom. So when people went to go fight for freedom in a war, they realized that they were giving their lives for something that was extremely valuable, something that Christ had already paid for. And so this was the moral framework. The pastoral preaching was a moral framework of the day. And so this is really powerful. It says that the ministers of the revolution were like Puritan predecessors. They were bold and fearless. So another historian says that they were bold and fearless, just like the Puritan predecessors of their time. They were bold and fearless in the cause of their country. No class of men contributed more to carry forward the revolution and to achieve our independence than did the ministers. By their prayers and patriotic sermons and services, they rendered the highest assistance to the civil government and to the army and to the country. So the historians were saying that this is like they were the leaders. They were the ones that were really the founders. I mean, one of my friends, Reverend Bill Cook, says that the pastors were actually the founders of the nation. The framers are the ones that just wrote down what the pastors preached. And that's what historians believed all the way up until the last, about like the 1940s, 1920s, when there was kind of a modern revision of history trying to say that the founding fathers were deists and atheists, and they didn't really believe the Bible. Everything, if you read their actual quotes, the actual writings first, this is kind of a lost thing in our country, to actually go back and read the original source text documents. But if you read the original source text documents and not some textbook that you're given in university or in law school, you'll see how Christian the majority of these founders and framers were, and it was instrumental to everything that they did. And it just, you're probably saying, well, why is this so important today? Well, we've been handed a tradition in America, myself as a pastor, the pastors of Santa Cruz County, the pastors of our nation. We've been handed the tradition of freedom, and we can either squander that tradition, break that tradition, or we can continue to proclaim that tradition. And it really, the founding fathers actually believed that if the Christian pastors didn't preach, if people didn't remain moral, if they didn't remain resolute in the principles of freedom and liberty, that it would be lost. And that's one of the reasons why Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin all believe that, if you can keep it, they said there was a quote where someone said, what kind of a government are we going to have? A dictatorship? He says it's a republic if you can keep it, madam. And I think it was Ben Franklin that said that after coming out of a meeting as they were putting together the government. So, anyways, one of Alice Baldwin, who was a historian from 1918, wrote that the Constitutional Convention, the very first time the Constitutional Convention got together to write the Constitution, and the Constitution itself were both children of the pulpit, meaning they emerged out of the pulpits of American colonial pastors. And then, of course, another historian says, had ministers been the only spokesmen of the rebellion, had Jefferson and the Adamses and James Otis never appeared in print, the political thought of the revolution would have followed almost the exact same line in the sermons of patriot ministers. So it's really important to just realize that, these guys really had such an important role. These ministers had such an important role in civic government, and they believed that there were three forms of government. There is four. There's the self-government, where you, before God, govern yourself in submission to Him. 2, family government, which is the most important unit of government and building blocks of a nation. And then there was civic government. And sphere authority says that you're in charge of you, you're in charge of your family, and then you're in charge of the civic government that oversees everything else. And those various forms of government have specific spheres, and they're not to invade each other. Well, what we're seeing right now in America is over the last couple of years or 3 years is we have seen government step out of its role. Its civic government step out of its role and try to control people, individuals, and to control families and control churches. And that is not their role. And they're stepping outside their jurisdiction with arbitrary mandates, which are not even laws. If you study the Constitution and how it's been set up in the Congress, the tripart government of Congress, the Congress of the United States and the Congresses of each state are supposed to make the laws, not the executive branch or the judicial branch. What we've been seeing is a lot of people trying to make rules and legislation from the judicial branch or the executive branch. Their job is just simply to execute the laws that are already there. And what we're seeing is a public-private partnership between businesses and government to circumvent the legislative process and enact mandates that are actually not laws, and therefore not giving the people a voice. And see, in our country, the king in the country of America are the people. There is no king. People are the king. And this is a revolutionary thought. I mean, back in the days of, in the beginning of the revolution, it used to be believed, the old model was there was God, and then He gave power to kings and authority to kings, and then kings and authority people gave it to the people. Well, no. The revolutionary thought flipped and said there's inalienable rights given by God directly to the people, and it's the people's job to set up government to protect those rights. This was mind-blowing in that day and age of kings, because they actually had believed that they were supposed to be able to um, they had believed that they were supposed to be able to get their authority from the king. That was a belief system. And the New Testament, the Bible, the personal relationship with Jesus that the Bible talks about, the authority that's given through him, is different. That information and that truth flipped government to say, no, there's God, and there's one God, and there's one mediator between man and God, and that is the man Christ Jesus, not government. So Jesus is the king of that government. So in civil matters, there is God, and then he gives rights to the people, and the people are the king. So they set up a government to protect those rights. So, anyways, that was revolutionary. It was a major difference between the French Revolution and the American Revolution. The French Revolution, there was beheadings everywhere, there murders all over the place. Alex de Tocqueville actually came to America, and he said, "Wow, it's very different here. The Americans are extremely religious. They actually believe the Bible. They believe this stuff." Okay, and the church embraced the revolution, where in the French Revolution, the church was part of the upper class, the proletariat, who stood with the rich and powerful, and that it was the people that came and had it and attacked. So in America, the difference between America and the French Revolution is one of them was a bloody revolution. The French Revolution was a bloody revolution. It was horrible. It was wicked that was going on in the streets of France. But an American Revolution also was bloody, but it was moral, because it was the people rising up saying, we're in control of our government. The only person we answer to is God, and God is above government. And this is a major shift in thought. So anyways, I'm going to be going to a conference that's coming up in a couple of days. Some of you know about this conference. It's called Liberty Pastors. It's a worldview training camp for pastors out in Lynchburg, Virginia. And in this conference, we're going to be talking about what part of your life is Jesus not Lord of, or he should be a Lord over every part of your life. And it should be even how you vote and what you think politically. The proper roles of government, self, family, church, which I just talked about, civic government, the biblical principles of civil government. What does it mean to be a black robe preacher, which I was taught to you about? Romans 13, 1-5 is talking about, does that demand unlimited submission to government? Does the Bible demand unlimited submission to government? And if you look around other places in the Bible, well, clearly it doesn't. It doesn't ask you to do wicked things that your government might tell you to do. Should you fear the IRS or worry about your church's 501c3? A lot of churches are becoming no longer 501c3s, or they're recognizing that attempt to restrain us is wrong. And so anyways, there's a bunch of topics that are going to be going on, teachings that are going to be happening at this Liberty Pastors Conference. If you're watching here on Facebook Live, I'm also on Wake the Bear Live on Facebook Live, and I actually you can see the slides I'm showing. Glad you guys are on here, Jesse, Tatiana, great. Hope you have questions. But I'm just basically sharing what I'm going to be going to, this conference I'm going to go into with pastors all over the nation in Virginia, talking about the principles of freedom and maintaining them in a period, in a day and age when those things are under attack. So anyways, I'm going live here. I'm sharing some of this. And then I just also wanted to say thank you. There's a bunch of you out there that actually gave to me on Facebook. I've never done this before, but I wanted to go to this conference, and my wife was like, hey, we can't afford to go. You're not working right now. You're writing a book that doesn't bring in income. You're painting paintings, and those only really bring in incomes when you sell them. So, we probably shouldn't spend the money. And I'm like, I needed a sign to say, yes, I'm going to go to this. And so I just posted on Facebook, hey, I really want to go. Anybody want to sponsor me? And it was beautiful. There was actually an 18-year-old girl, friends of ours. She's a musician, loves the Lord. Her family is a bunch of missionaries traveling all over the nation, preaching the gospel. She said, the Lord told me I couldn't go past your thing. I felt like I was supposed to give. The Lord told me to give. So she gave just a little bit. And because she gave a little bit, I took that as a sign from the Lord that I'm supposed to go for it, that step out. And so I posted, about this, people giving, and all the money came in for me to be able to go. So I just want to say thank you to everybody who gave. And this is what you're supporting, is my research. I'm going to be networking. I have some goals that I'm going to be doing with these guys out there, to basically networking with them, learning what they've learned a lot of them have written many books on the American pastors of the Revolution. Um, so I'm going to be going out there. I also wanted to share a little bit. First, I want to say thank you, obviously, to people who gave. Tell you what I'm going to be doing out there, and then I also want to tell you about the Patriot Academy. Patriot Academy. That is a class that's going on in Capitola. The last class of 8 weeks is this coming Sunday. The Sukos, Robin and Joanne, are actually the ones that are leading this. Good friends of ours, leaders. We've been a part of the School of Supernatural back in the day when we had that. They are leading it, and we're ending an 8 week session, but we're going to start another 8 weeks coming soon to Convergence. So if you're in town and you would like to learn about the principles of liberty, we had people in the class who are lawyers who said in these 8 weeks they learned more about the Constitution than they ever did, and the tons of stuff that they never even learned about in law school. There's a lot of law schools out there that you're studying case studies, but you're not actually studying the Constitution. You're not actually studying the original documents in their entirety, and then what the original intent of those documents were based on the founding fathers who wrote them. It's kind of a lost art to actually study, like I said, the primary source texts. Kids read textbooks and of people telling them what they should believe about certain things, rather than actually reading what the writers of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence actually believe themselves. So anyways, thanks again for everybody who paid for me to go to the conference. I hope you can come and join us in the next Patriot Academy that's going to be starting in September. I hope you liked this short video. I'm going to try to do more of these, where I just do a live video, and then also share a revolutionary quote from one of the founding fathers. And I'll put a couple of the quotes that I quoted in the notes on this post. And I'm going to try to keep it simple. Keep it simple, stupid. I'm trying to keep it simple. One or two revolutionary quotes, and then just a little bit of commentary from me about what I'm learning about it. So anyways, God bless you. Thanks for joining. And I hope you'll follow me. And I will probably be posting while I'm in Virginia a little bit about the things we're learning. All right. God bless.